Okay, well, you've just had your basic information given on how to start AutoCAD. Like I said, it's a huge program, and you're going to have to go through a lot of different things to actually start doing the drawings. So I'm going to take you through the most basics. You're going to open up the program, and when you first open it up, you're not going to just see directly this. You're going to see two other windows. Basically some information and agreeing to want to be part of a survey group, things like that. We're going to close those two off, and we're going to come directly to here. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the mouse. You see the little cursor going around? You're going to hear me talk about picking and right-clicking. So with your mouse, you definitely are going to be using your two main fingers. You're going to have your pointer finger is going to be your pick button. So whenever you hear me say pick, remember P for pointer finger. You're picking, you're picking, you're picking. Your middle finger is going to be your right click. You'll hear me say right click, enter. You'll see when we do a right click when we're in the actual drawing itself, we'll right click and you'll see a little menu will pop up and it'll say enter. So you don't have to take your hand off that mouse. But be prepared to sit up straight, use your mouse, use your keyboard. You're not going to just be able to use one hand. You really need to be able to use both hands and be really set up to do this. All right, so starting a new drawing, how we do this. These are recent documents here saying what was the last few things I've used. Now remember, if you're sitting at one computer and you have recent documents, what you've done, if you've moved computers, these won't show up because it's only going by the actual computer itself. So let's just start a plain brand new sheet. You have a couple of options. You can come up to here where this A is and you can hold it down and you can go new here. Okay, and this thing is called the application menu, or you can come up here. This little bar up here is called the quick access toolbar. We can click new here. It's just a new sheet of paper. Now, when this comes up here, what this is giving us our ideas of what we can do. We're next to the open button right here. You can hold down the little fly out the arrow and go open with no template Imperial. Okay. If you choose just open, it's going to default one way or another from what was the last thing you used. So let's play it safe. Imperial is the measurement we use here in the United States. Metric is European. So we're going to Imperial. So we're going to go open, no template, Imperial. Now, my screen's already set up the way I like it in some regards, but I want to take you through some things that you're going to have. You're going to see over here a weird little 3D cube. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of this. This right here, you can do everything without having this on. So let's go, we're just going to set this up for you the way we want to have it, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to our ribbons. This is our ribbon area right here, and we're going to come up to here where it says View Tab. We're going to click on View Tab. Over here, the viewport tools, we have the UCS icon, which is this little guy down here. Very important, leave him on, okay? This is our view cube. That's what it looks like right here. You don't need that, so you just click it and it turns it from blue to white, which turns it off. We also don't need this navigation bar. So we click it, the blue turns to white. And notice it's blue when you hover over it, but when you move away from it, it's going to be white. So that's a matter of just picking. So those two things are taken care of, okay? So we turn those off, and that gives us a little bit more space here too, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click back over to the Home tab, because that's the main area we're working from, and we're going to change the background. Notice my background is black. Black is a very soothing color for your eyes when you're working on AutoCAD. When you open yours up, you're going to have this dusty gray. It really is not, it can give you headaches if you don't like it. So we're going to change this background and get some things set up. So you have two options. One, you can come back to the application menu and go directly here to options, or you can come into this drawing area, which is this whole area here, and you can right click. See, I did the right click, and I can go to options here. Okay. Now, when yours comes up, it's going to look like this the first time you open it. Once again, wherever you left off is what's going to open, okay? So you're going to come through here. I will do that again for you. You can right-click, Options, and now you're in the display. One that you can choose if you like is the color scheme could be light or dark. Light means this area up here is white, and if you go to dark, it's more of a tan color. I'm leaving it at white so you guys can see it. You can choose that. Now down here where it says colors, please click on colors, and you're going to have this set up where it says interface element, uniform background. Right now you have a multitude, 3 different numbers listed here. Click this down and go all the way down to black. Tell it to apply and close, and then apply, and then OK. Now your screen should be black, and it's much, much easier to see. Okay? Now, the next thing I'd like you to do is we are going to set up this command line. See how this command line right here? See these little dots by it? With these little dots on the command line, if we take these dots, we can move this command line around. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to dock it. You see how I just brought it over and I kind of squish it towards this corner and it turned fatter? And I just docked it. Now the next thing is see where it says command right here? I'm going to hover my mouse over. You see how it gets that double-headed arrow right there? I'm going to pull it up and just make it just one little extra line. So that way you can see all of your different commands you've got going. I'd like you to see at least 2 lines of it because otherwise sometimes it'll ask you questions and you don't get to see the whole thing. So at least 2 lines, 3 can be helpful too. And to let you know that with this here, if we have problems and you're not sure what's going on, you can always go back to here. You can bring the command line all the way up and you can see all the commands you've done with this, and it can scroll right through so you can show everything, okay? So we're going to bring this back down and get our commands set up for us. All right, so now we have this all set up. This is a good way for us to start. So let me go ahead and I'm going to explain a little bit about the actual screen first, okay? So we've got our basic setup going. And once again, remember, I'm going to ask you to right-click or pick. So pick is with your pointer finger and right-click is the actual right-click. It's going to be your middle finger. So this tool right here, it looks like a jewel. It's an application menu. Hold it down. It gives you lots of different options for them too. You can find these in other areas, such as the next thing is this little bar up across. Get out of there. This little bar across here is the quick access toolbar, and there can be lots of other things added to it. Basically, we have our new, we have open, and open is when you've had a drawing saved before. We can save a drawing, we can save as, we can plot, or as you might want to call it print, but we actually call it plotting. We can undo, or we can redo. This adds other commands to it. Now, this is your information. You can come over here, information to center. This is if you have a question and you're not quite sure. You can actually type a question, and a lot of times the help will come up for you. Now, this whole big thing across here is called a ribbon, just like you would see in Microsoft Word. So the whole object, all these together, is called a ribbon. And each of these little guys right here are called a panel. This is the draw panel, modify, annotation, layers, blocks, properties. So each of these are panels. And then in these panels, each of these little squares, these are all different commands. Now, whenever you see an arrow next to it, like this one here, these are options. You have different kind of options to do. So remember, you got ribbons, panels, and then you got the actual tool itself. Okay? Now, this whole area here is our drawing area. If we were to have to draw something that's 100 feet long, we would draw it 100 feet long on the screen because the screen goes on for quite some ways. Okay? Down here is our actual command line, which we already docked, and we made it so we can see things. These little tools down here is our status bar. Now, what I'd like you to do right now with the status bar is I'd like you to come to the last one. See this one here where it says customization? I'd like you to pick that, and this will pop up. I want to make sure you can see things. First thing I'd like you to turn on is click on coordinates, model space is on, grid, snap modes. I'd like you to turn on the one called dynamic input, ortho mode, polar tracking, isometric, object snap tracking, 2D object snap, line weight. Let's go to, later on when we get into the last 9 weeks, we'll do this dynamic UCS. It's not needed now. Annotation visibility, auto scale, annotation scale, workspace switching, annotation monitor. And let's come down. Isolate objects is a good one. And you can leave these two checked also. So what we did was by checking these, we added more things down here. Okay, and these are things we're going to be needing. Okay, so this just tells us what we have going on. Okay, now the next thing I need you to know is I need you to understand different ways of picking objects. So I'll explain more about the line command in a minute, but for right now, I'm just going to go into, see here with the line, I'm just picking line, and I'm coming in here, and notice, I am just, you see that we've got a blue number that's highlighting the length and another one telling us the degree. If that is not on, you can press the F12 button, it turns it off and on. At this point, it really doesn't matter. I am just going to come over here and I'm just going to randomly draw what I'm going to call spaghetti. Okay? Got a bunch of lines going. Now, there's a couple things we need to know with this. I drew this here just so you understand how we select items. Every command that you're going to be doing in this modify toolbar area here is going to have to be selected. So it's real important. We're going to get into the erasing first because the erase is something you're going to need quite often. So we got lots of different ways. But first, let's go through all the selecting method. Okay, your first selection method is very simply, if we pick the erase command, I can come into my screen and pick exactly what line I want. I select it, I right click, and it's gone. Okay, I'm going to bring that line back for you. Okay, the next thing, I can pick the erase command, and if I pick and I let go of the pick button and I pull it straight out, you will notice it is blue. Now, this is called windowing. So I'm going from my left hand to my right hand. It is blue. That is called windowing. If I go from my right to my left, it is green. It's called crossing. I'll show you the difference. So if I'm going windowing, notice it only selects things that are completely inside the window. So right now you can see there's only one line that's actually kind of highlighted thin that's been selected. If I go down just a little bit more, you can see all the lines that are adding. Notice it's taking all those lines except that one. So if I was to pick it right here, you could see it selected all these. It did not take this because that was not windowed. Right click and they're gone. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to come back up here to erase. And now I'm going to pick from my right side and I'm going to go to my left side. Now, take a look at the difference. This is called crossing. And with crossing, it is green. Okay? And what that means is anything you touch. See at the end, I'm not really covered on any of those lines. I've just barely touched one or two of them, but they completely selected. So if I was to do this, look at this is the only one that wasn't touched. Everything would be gone. So once again, you got to remember these differences. Erase, I can go in and pick. I can window from my left to my right, and it only takes things that are completely inside the actual object. I can come from my right and go to my left, and it'll take everything it is touching. Okay? Now, I'm going to hit escape to get out of this command, just so you can see. Now, this is the next one that people like. People enjoy playing around with this one for selecting. It really isn't that great of a help, but you need to know what it is because some of you guys will find it very quickly and want to play. If I pick erase, and I pick my point here. If I pick and just go through, you see how it becomes my window or my crossing. If I go in and pick my command and I pick and I don't let it go, then I can come through and just pick what ones I actually want to select. So I can become very, very picky on what I want to do and say I only want to select those. So you see the ones that are in it? That's a polygonal window, and it'll do the same exact thing. If I pick it, I don't lift it up. If I come, it'll take it. Okay? So you don't pick it up, it'll go that way. Does that make sense to you? So you can do that with your window or crossing, whichever. I'm going to hit escape. So we're good to go again. So that's an important thing for you to actually understand. So with the erase. Now, here's something else you can do. You can do the erase using this erase command here. You could also come in and just randomly pick, right click, and erase. You can highlight and pick like I'm crossing, right click, erase. You can pick one, and you can actually on your keyboard, you can go to the delete key and hit delete. So you can use erase up here. You can use it by the shortcut by selecting it and going to erase here, or you could just pick it and hit delete. So you got 3 different ways to delete things. So that was important for you to actually see. Okay, so hopefully you understand all that right now. So those are some of the quick things. Now let's go ahead and start on a command. So I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to hit and go erase. Now let's start with the line. A line is super simple. When you come in and pick line, it asks you questions right here. Your question is down in the command line. Specify your first point. Well, where do you want to start? Well, for right now, we can just start anywhere. And now if you look at it, that is showing you, see it's saying 4.159 by 21 degrees. Well, that is called dynamic input. If those little boxes are on, you can see it very easily. If I hit the F12 key, it's going to turn that off. So you're going to see it go, but you're not going to see the numbers. I think it's a very helpful thing for you, so I'm going to leave the F12 on for you right now so you can see it. So say you have a line that you want to come over here and say you need it to be 6 inches. You can type in the 6. You can hit your tab and see what the thing is saying, 22. This is 0 degrees. And notice it comes all the way up. And there's our 90, and it goes all the way around. And look where it's going, 180, 270, we're coming all the way back up here, 360. So if I wanted a 6-inch line at 45 degrees, there I go. So that's how I can do things. I can type things that way. You could randomly just come in here and just pick your points wherever you want. That's fine too. That's not an issue. Another way you can do your lines are very simple, is you can come in and do a line. And now, think of graph paper. If I go 0, tab, 0, and enter, that's starting my 0, 0. See the X and Y right there? That's just like if you had graph paper. Okay? So you can actually type in coordinates. Now, let's see. The next thing with lines. Let's go through here and show you some different things with the line. See how it follows me around like a rubber band right here? There is a command down here under the status, and it is going to be this little one right here. It is called Ortho Mode, and it's F8. If I'm drawing lines and it's just picking, 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 and I hit the F8 key, and remember, F8 means it's a function key. If I hit it, watch what happens to that line. I hit it, it'll only go straight up, down, or it's only doing vertical and horizontal. That's all it's going to do. You hit the F8 key again, it's going to follow you like a rubber band. Okay? So that's your F8 key. So you're going along like this. Kind of got it with some lines? Hopefully so. All right, now let me show you the next things with lines. Okay, and I'm going to delete these. With this here, there is a key. It is the F3 key, and this is going to be your snaps. down here with your snaps are located right here. Snap cursor to 2D. Okay? I'm going to hold this arrow down and I'm going to say Object Snap Settings. With these snaps, let's turn these on. Let me close this off so you see it again. Come down to the bottom of your screen. It looks like a piece of paper with a green little square up in the corner. Pick the arrow down and go to Object Snap Settings. See the tab Object Snaps? It also says it turns on with F3, so you can remember that. F8 is ortho, F3 is your object snap. Now, let's turn on some ones that we need. Let's hit Clear All first, and I'm going to have you turn on the ones that we use the most. Let's go Endpoint, Midpoint, Center. We can even do Geometric Center, Quadrant, and Intersection. Those are the ones you're going to use the most. We will add more of these in shortly, but let's get used to using these first. Okay? So have that set and tell it OK. Now, the next thing I want you to do, and you see this is not blue. If I click on it, it'll turn that blue. I don't want that on yet because I want to show you something. Okay? So with it, the object snaps are very important because in this program, watch this. If I come in with a line, and I just draw a simple line like so. Now I want to draw another line. If you were in a paint program or a Word program, you just kind of get close to the end of the line and you pick it, and you can draw your next line down. So you think the line's attached. Well, let's do this. Use your red scroll mouse and scroll in. You just realize those lines aren't attached. So let's try again. Let's take a line and try to get closer here. Let's zoom in. Nope, still not attached. Get another line. Here. We can go on forever because this is how exact this program is. You cannot get exactly to the end of a line unless you have these snaps turned on. So let me show you. And now I'm just scrolling with the red scroll mouse on the cursor. I'm just going to scroll out here and I'm going to select some lines and delete these so you can see better. Now, my snaps, I'm going to turn them on with F3. So when my F3 is on, I come to my line command, and look, if I even get nearer to it, see the green box that popped up? That means I'm attached. So I'm going to zoom in again, roll in with my scroll mouse, and see it's attached perfectly. So F3 is a good thing to have on, so you're not having all these gaps. So if I go anywhere near it, check it out, it hit it. Remember with the other snaps I had turned on, I had one that was called midpoint. If I touch anywhere near it, see the triangle? That's the midpoint. So those snaps are really, really helpful. So that is located right here, and we will get more into the snaps in a few minutes. Now, I'm going to take you to a little bit of the side, and I'm going to get you into zoom. Okay? The zoom, that's what I was doing with my scroll mouse. When I roll my red little wheel on the actual mouse itself, it scrolls in and out. If I take that wheel that I'm scrolling in and out and I press it down and hold it, see it turns to a hand, and if I hold that hand down, it's called the pan feature. So if I'm working on something, I can pan it across where I want to see it. Say, hey, I want to get all the way down over here. I can zoom out, zoom in, and I can pan it where I need to be. So I want you to see how that works. Now, the next thing. Let's go in here so you get an idea, and let's go ahead and draw a line and just pick a point, and let's put that F8 on, and we're going to drag it straight across, and we're going to type in 1 and hit enter. And right click, see that? Enter. So that is 1 inch long. Your screen may be like this and you can barely see it, or your screen may be zoomed all the way in like this. It doesn't matter. An inch is an inch. That's how long that line really is. Now, let me show you something quickly. Say it's like this, and we're not sure what we want to do, but we want to zoom to see the whole thing. If you take that red scrolling wheel and you double click it quickly, like click, click. Okay, it's not going to, I'm in a command, sorry about that. If I double click it quickly, it actually zooms the whole picture. I'll show you it again. Down here, make sure you're not in a command. That was my problem. I just double click and it zooms everything right there. So you know what an inch is, correct? So let's do this. Let's just draw something very small right now. So you know this is smaller than an inch, correct? So I'm going to do that. And you know what? I'm going to turn off my snap so you can see this. So there's my F3, okay? And I'm going to go through here and turn off my other. I'm going to scroll into the inside of this star, and I'm going to make another star. Now, mind you, that other star was smaller than an inch. And I'm going to scroll in again. And I'm going to do another. And then I'm going to scroll in again. And you notice how I'm doing this. After I finish that, see I closed it up? I can right-click, enter. And now I can zoom in. Now, remember the last command I used was align. If I right-click, repeat line. I don't have to always go up to that top of that screen. I get there, right-click, enter, right-click, repeat line. And I'm going to zoom in here again. So now this is getting crazy small. This little star is probably thinner than a hair by now. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So there's the star. There's the first one. And now let's zoom out. There's another. There's another. There's another. There's another. There's another. And here's our line that's 1 inch. So you can see this is a very, very accurate thing. And sometimes when you get going, you don't even notice it. That's where that double click, it brings it all back in focus. Okay, now with something like this, this is where I would take, if I wanted to erase it, I would come in here and take this whole thing. And that way all of that little stuff gets gone. Okay, so that's that information. So let's go ahead and go back here to line. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to draw a few lines, just random lines. Picking lines, picking lines, picking lines, picking lines. Okay? So we can do that with lines. Now I'm going to come over to the next thing called polylines. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick some lines, pick some lines, pick some lines, pick some lines, and just pick, 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 pick. Okay. Now, if you didn't see me drawing these, could you tell the difference between what's a line and what's a polyline? No, you couldn't. Don't think you can. You can't. So what we're going to do with this is I want to show you. If I go pick, that's a line. Notice start, end, middle. Okay? That's a line. That one's a line. So every time when I drew a line, it became a separate piece. Okay? Now, this was my polyline. When I picked my polyline, look at that. Every time I picked a point, it continued on. So sometimes it's better to have polylines than it is to have lines. You just have to know when it's best to use one or the other. Okay? So every time you have a line, they're individual pieces. Every time you have a polyline, it's a continual piece over and over again. Okay? All right, now, something else for you. We've got some things dealing with the lines. We've got this. If we come into this line and we pick it, you see these blue dots? Those things are called grips. Okay. Let me show you how a grip works. When you have a line, if you have the middle grip, if you pick it, you can then move it. If you pick the end of a line, you can change it. You pick the end of the line, you can change it. Okay, so those are grips. Now watch what's different with the polyline. When I pick a polyline, you also have these weird little blue rectangles. Like, see this rectangle, this blue one here? If I pick that blue rectangle, it actually stretches or it keeps that line and it's moving it where I want it to go. Okay, the blue grips on the corners still are the same. It takes blue, the both of them. This one moves the whole setup. So you have some other things with it. When you also have this selected, if you right click, you can then come do some things. You can move, copy, scale. We will get into these later, but it does give you some other shortcuts. So your main thing to remember, lines are single pieces, polylines are all together. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and erase these. So now you've got lines, you've got polylines. Let's go to circles. Check this out. There is a ton of different things dealing with circles, and there's all different sorts of circles. So let's start with the first one, center radius, no brainer. First thing it says specify center point for circle or 3P, 2P, TTR, tan radius. All of these down here are options for yourself. So I'm going to come with the center, and I'm just going to pick here. Now, we can just drag it out and draw the circle any size we want, but I want you to understand. You see the blue number that's in there? Let's do a radius of 1 inch. So I'm just going to type 1 and hit enter. So if this radius was 1 inch from the center to here, it means the whole diameter is going to be 2. If I come to here, I go center diameter, I pick it, and now, remember this one was a 1 inch radius. If I type this one in as 1 a 1 inch diameter, it's half the size. The thing I want you to see and notice is if I go circle center radius, if I pick and I drag out, look, it's going from the center out. But if I take it, let me get rid of that one. If I take the circle diameter, if I pick, it's going, see where my area is further out? It's going halfway out and it's taking the measurement all the way across. So please remember the difference on those. Now, here's a 2-point circle. When I pick, and look what it's doing. It's going from edge of the circle to edge of the circle. Okay, so that's like quadrant to quadrant. So that's that. So I can actually type in and say, hey, I want this 1 inch across. These two will be the same, but it drew it from this point to this, where this one drew it from here and it halved out over to here, and this one went from the center to here. Now, the next one, 3-point circle. This one here is a great thing. Let's do this so you can understand what the 3-point circle. I'm going to turn those snaps back on, that F3, so you can see with the 3-point. See how I'm touching this circle here? You see the little dot in the middle? And then it turned to a circle? That's my center point. Remember, lines have midpoints, circles have centers. So I'm going to pick this as my first point. I am going to hover over, and you see how it's going to a quadrant? I want it to go to the center. So see the little X? I go to it and the circle shows up. I pick here, and now see how it's going to the quadrant again? But see the X? I go there and the little green circle shows up. Now I have a circle that's touching the center, the center, the center. So that was a 3-point circle. You could also just come out here and pick 3 points, go point, point, point. That's fine too, but I want you to see how this all works. Okay, the next one, let's go to tangent, tangent, radius. Okay, with this, tangent, radius is where it's going to touch things. With tangent means it's touching the edge of an arc or a line. So I'm going to do this right here. Tangent. Now see the little green? It's a green circle with a little tail coming out and a little hat on it. I'm going to touch this, and when I see it, I'm going to pick it. I'm going to touch this. When I see it, I'm going to pick it. And now it's going to ask me for a radius, and I'm going to give it a radius of 2, and let's see what it's going to look like. So, do you see? It's touching here, and this circle has a 2-inch radius. Okay? So that's called tangent, tangent, radius. Great option. Now, let's go to the next one. See this little tiny hole in here? Tangent, tangent, tangent. Okay, this is great geometry. When you go into here and pick tangent, you touch this one. We're going to touch this one. And we're going to touch this one. And now this circle is touching tangent to all 3 sides. Super tons of geometry we're saving from doing this. So there was lots of things to do as far as circles. So Each of these circles can be used in different ways. Now, let me show you a couple of things. If you're getting into work and you're doing things quickly, and say you come over here and you pick center radius, you pick it, you come in and you realize, oh no, I know the diameter, I don't know the radius. Well, of course, if you know the diameter, you can divide it by 2. But this program allows you to figure things out differently. Say this was a diameter of 3.33, and you don't want to take the time to figure it out. See in your command line right here? Specify the radius for D for diameter. It's giving you the option to click on this here, and now you can type in 3.333, and we have it there. We can go here and repeat our circle and pick our point, and instead of us coming down here to click on diameter, we can automatically just right in the screen type D and hit enter, and now we can actually type in what the actual measurement is. It's just like if you are in the diameter and you picked it and you realize, oh my goodness, it needs to be a radius. I can type R for radius and hit enter. All right, it's not going to, oops, it's not going to let me do that one. So that one's been changed. So the circle's not going to let me switch back. Center radius is what I use almost all the time. So that's a good thing. Now, some other options. What if we had a line right here and we had another line right here? We're going to hover. We're going to come across about to here. We can come in with our circle, 2 point, and say, hey, there's my point here. There's my point here. You see how that works? So we can work on things like that. So that's what all these different things are going to be for. So there's different times you're going to want to use different things, okay? It's just like, say we had a line. Now let's take that ortho off. We had a line here. We had a line over here. Oops. And we had a line over here. If we needed a circle, a 3-point circle, one that touched from the end of this line to the end of this line to the end of this line, we could have done it. Okay, so there's lots of things. So now you've gotten some real quick basics down. So I'm going to end this video with this because I would like you to play with the line, the polylines, your circle, and your erase. The next one we're going to go into, we're going to add some more of our modifies here, and we're going to get into something called our layers. So that's what we're working with here. Please don't go into anything yet. I don't want you getting into trouble where I have to fix any of the problems. All right, does that help you out now? I hope that'll work for you. So that's the first part.